Okay, here we are at number 23, which is called Waiting for the Worms. I almost jumped into it in the last one a little prematurely because I was going to say, I remember this idea of the worms was the first in the first listen I ever did to anything connected with this album. Several weeks ago, I did my first listen of Hey You. That was my first exposure to Pink Floyd at all. And I remember when it got to this line where it says, the worms ate into his brain. And I was like, oh, what an idea. Well, we have traversed many unique, shocking, thought-provoking, surprising ideas since then. And I still have a few songs to go till I get to the end of this work. And anyway, so here we are, waiting for the worms. And I'm curious to see how this develops and what it's going to be all about. There's a lot that came through there in that short space of time. I want to hear that again. Again, I was surprised by the choice of vocals and instrumentation here. I wouldn't have guessed it just looking at the music I have in front of me. So, let's hear that opening again. I guess there's another reference here too. Goodbye, cruel world. It's throwing me back. But the music is interesting. I did not expect this sound world in this moment. It has a sort of almost cheeriness to it, even though it's in a minor key. Not really triumphant, but the rhythm and this it reminds me of a child being, evading his playmates in a game of tag or something, and then he finds a little place out of reach and he stands up there and he taunts them. You cannot reach me now. It's like it has a very unique quality to it. And even Goodbye, Cruel World, it doesn't have the same sort of stress and depressing feel that it had in the song by that name. Now, it's like, okay, it's over, walk on by, I don't care. I guess I would qualify this as sounding carefree, careless, carefree, not being concerned about what it all implies. Let's go on and see what comes next. It's over. Walk on by. Sitting in a bunker, here behind my wall. Waiting for the worms to come. Wait. What's that loudspeaker saying there? I can't quite make it out. Okay, so my copy of the music didn't have it didn't have that loudspeaker set of words in it, and so I had to stop, and Vlad gave me this other set of lyrics. So now I have to be bouncing between sheet music and lyrics, and this might take me a few minutes to wade my way through it. But let's start here and see if I can follow this a bit better. Okay, that's a bit of a surprise. Let me go back now to the music score and listen to the same section now that I have followed the... Interesting. The music does something really effective here. And again, we're talking about music that is supporting the ideas presented in the lyrics. So, if I didn't have the lyrics, I might not pull all of this out of the music. I could interpret the music in multiple ways, but here, when you marry it with the lyrics, it does this wonderful thing. I guess I'm beginning to understand a bit more what this worms is, or maybe he's changed the meanings of the worms of this word again, like he did with blue and babe earlier. He's always switching it up a little bit just when we think we know, and then there's another angle or another application. But here, it's obviously quite fascist. And I find it fascinating. The other thing I wanted to comment on up to this point is that whereas the first half of the album had a sequence that I could follow in over the course of listening to it, the second half has been a little bit more scattered, and I've had to work a bit more to figure out, why is this placed here? What is it doing here? What's its purpose? Because once he's behind the wall, it's like it's giving us these different episodes, different moments in a sort of patchwork style. It's not chronological. It's not so easily identified as to where it's coming from. And so we've had The Show Must Go On. We've had, I can't think of all the different titles right now. Let me just look back quickly. In the Flesh, yes. Comfortably Numb, yes. Bring the Boys Back Home. Vera, I'm going in. Nobody Home. I'm going in a strange order right now. But it's so interesting to think of all of these as coming from behind the wall. And so here, this idea of worms comes back again. And it's signifying this decay of society and relationships and understanding in the society. It's a very self-centered, brutal, and group-oriented concept, which is, it works so well and it's so suitable, but to be participating in groupthink behind a wall where you're isolated by yourself is really that's what we do, right? That's what people do. But the fact that he's called it out and said it so perfectly in music. And I want to look at the music here a little bit and see how he's setting us up for this. I noticed that the musical accompaniment has this very driving, strong, group style sound to it. Well, it started out in this carefree manner. It's peaceful. But even under that peacefulness, you can hear a sort of mass marching of feet. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I didn't catch that at first as being significant, but it comes up later. Now it comes more strongly, more like well, it could be several things. It could be banging yourself against the wall, banging your head against the wall. It could be in a chamber where all you hear is your own heartbeat echoing in your own mind. You can't hear anything else around it. It could be a call to battle, like, we are going. And now it's very present, not just off in the distance, this sort of disconnected, or not disconnected, but scene that we're viewing from a distance. Now we're part of it. Sitting in a bunker. And this idea of a bunker. All right, now this isolation chamber. It's not an isolation chamber. It's a bunker in a war scene. And listen to how the music gets dark here. Kind of like it's getting the crowds going now, and they are joining in the chant, joining in the procession towards this goal.
Perfect isolation. Here behind my wall.
And then, of course, we're instantly thrown back to this idea of perfect isolation behind my wall. This procession, this marching column of individuals are all individuals who don't care and aren't connected to anybody around them. It's a group construct without humanity, without the human element. And the music is doing such a fabulous job of setting us up with that feeling. And now we have this wonderful dark voice waiting. It's dark and it's menacing and it's determined and it's convinced of its position. It's really great. And still we have this pounding beat that is everybody doing this together. And it's incredibly unimaginative, musically. On purpose. Because this kind of attitude is incredibly dense and dull and low-grade way of thinking. Or non-thinking. And it's all about the power, the drive. Just power on and mow everybody down in your path. And you hear that in the music. So now we're not waiting for the worms to eat into our brain this individual is no longer. Instead, it's a battle against the worms. And it's this mass movement against the perceived worms, which are again put outside, away from. They're not even inside this wall anymore. Certainly not in the mind. At least the way it's being perceived here. Okay, it was changing just a bit there.
Would you like to see Britannia again?
Interesting. And now it goes back to this rather patriotic sounding. And Britannia rule again. Isn't there a song, Rule Britannia? And I think it's a patriotic song. Something about Britannia rule the waves or something. And I remember it as being a very triumphant, patriotic style bit of music. Let's back up and hear this. It's been too long since I've listened to that piece for me to say whether this is quoting any of it musically. But verbally, the idea is there. And it's sending us to another piece of music that is well known.
Like to see Britannia again, my friend. Oh, yeah.
What was that? Did you hear that laughter in there? Like it's a joke?
Would you like to send our colored cousins home again? My friend. All you need to do is follow.
Okay, hold on. Now I have to go back and hear the and read what the lyrics were again, because I don't have those written. So I'm going to back up just a little and follow this as it comes to an end here. But now he's saying it's a call to the worms to convene, almost as if this group has become the worms themselves rather than the undesirable other. Okay. But I'm supposed to be paying attention to music. So much to follow here. And this is the crowd that the music has been building up this entire time. There was something, just an interesting little moment in this when it was talking about get to the other side of the bridge, and there was a little extra sonic element which came almost as if it's the crossing of the bridge. I guess, yeah, let me back up just a little more. Yeah, there's a lot happening musically, but there's a slight shift in the sound, in the sonic elements as we start to cross the bridge. And I guess it's kind of the beginnings of the crowd beginning to gather and yeah, it's a really seamless transition between the instrumental pulse and then the crowd, the voice of the mass crowd coming in, and you almost think that it's some percussion instrument that's first doing the crowd chanting. And maybe it is. I can't tell by the way it's layered, but it's a nice little transition. Yes, there is something percussion. voices have taken over. Obviously, I'm supposed to go to the next song now. But before I do, I don't think I wrote anything here that I was talking about because I was trying to follow the lyrics and all. But basically what we have in the music is this opening, which is quite innocent and carefree. Maybe not innocent, but cheery and carefree. And it starts about there, and it goes on. And then, of course, sitting in the bunker is a transition point, musically speaking. And again, from that point, you start really hearing from the beginning, you hear this very subtle pulsing, which is kind of footsteps marching in the distance. But from here, it becomes more prominent, and it's going on, and it's building. And that's really one of the features of this song, is the way it gets the crowd excited and gets the crowd involved. I guess what some of you have told me about how live concert, rock concert, is all about getting the audience to immerse themselves in the experience of just being in the music and being excited by the music. I could see this working quite well in a live concert in that regards. It would get everybody up and working in unison. That's the purpose of this kind of music. And of course, it doesn't always have to work in such a sinister way as here. But when we are aware of the fact that music can affect us like that, it's good, because then we can check ourselves and see, are we just being carried along by the crowd? Or is this really something that we want to be involved in? And ideologically, musically, whatever. It's good for us to step back and say, hold on, let me just check myself here for a moment. But it's a really well composed, well designed musical work to achieve that effect. And with the ideas that the text brings, the lyrics bring into it, it's very effective in placing it here. I'm still not sure about the sequencing of these songs in the second half of the album. Again, I feel like we're looking at it from different angles and popping in here and then jumping over there. But each one stands on its own very well. And each one gives us yet another view of this concept of the wall and what all it entails, what it encompasses, and what it can mean and what it can do. So there was my first exposure to Waiting for the Worms. And now I guess I have just a few others left to the end, so let's keep going.